So Russia has flatly rejected Trump's 10 to 12-day ultimatum for peace talks, making it quite clear it's not going to negotiate until its full objectives are met. Russia's deputy chairman of the Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, stated Trump has no authority to set deadlines and reiterated that Russia aims to topple Ukraine's government, block their NATO expansion, and cripple Ukraine's military. Goals that have been stated since 2022, so at least they're consistent. Furthermore, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov dismissed the timeline as unrealistic and said Russia will act on its own terms, but then he decided to pivot away from the current topic because that's what Russia does and started citing stalled US-Russia relations, including programs like the New START arms treaty. He claimed that US concessions to Ukraine are causing the holdups in those areas. This is a familiar Kremlin tactic. They link unrelated policy items and negotiations to Western attempts to curtail Russian evils. They do it to pressure Washington and European capitals by changing the subject, never admitting they do anything wrong, and actually saying it's our fault for letting the relations fade because, God forbid, we in the West don't let Russia murder tens of thousands of innocent Ukrainian people. It actually is where the term whataboutism came from. It was something that the United States coined when dealing with Russia. Never will they address the current topic. They will also say, well, what about this or what about that, or focus on something else. And at this point, Russia is just a den of beggars, thugs, and thieves. So I say, go fuck yourself, Russia. You're in no position to make demands of a country with a GDP 15 times larger than yours and a military budget 9 times larger than yours. And you know what? Let's just run this to the ground once and for all. As I proceed to show you just how exponentially more powerful the US is than Russia, and maybe you can just go sit in the corner and shut up for a while. So I've already stated the GDP and military budget, but let's dive a little deeper. The GDP per capita in the US is $91,000 versus Russia's $14,000, which is over 6 times higher income per person. Foreign direct investment in the US is 15 times higher than that of Russia annually, which shows that we have greater global trust and integration. Our two stock markets, the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ, make up over 40% of global market capitalization. Russia's is under 1%. Militarily, the US has over 13,000 military aircraft, which is 4 times more than Russia. We have 11 nuclear-powered carriers. Russia has 1 aging diesel-powered carrier that doesn't even work, keeps catching fire, and is the laughingstock of the world. The US has over 750 military bases in 80 plus countries. Russia has under 20. Our Navy is far bigger and more capable than Russia's. Alliances? The US is the central power in NATO, a 32-nation alliance including most of Europe that is absolutely the most powerful alliance in the history of the world. We also have bilateral alliances around the world. Russia has no comparably powerful military alliance. The CSTO is a joke. Some of their members are actively seeking relationships with the US and NATO. Looking at you, Armenia. Still not convinced? Let's look at technology and industrial power. 8 of the top 10 largest tech firms in the world are in the United States. Russia has none. In the top 50, US firms like Intel, Nvidia, and AMD lead the world in semiconductors. Russia has no manufacturing capability and relies on imported chips. When that gets cut off, they salvage them from washers and dryers. Obviously, the future is artificial intelligence. The US leads in global AI innovation with firms like OpenAI, Google DeepMind, and Anthropic. Russia is at least 10 years behind in real-world implementation and has no real AI capacity, relying instead on Chinese tech. Energy? That's what we hear about Russia. They're this massive energy producer. Well, the US is actually the world's #1 oil and natural gas producer. Russia's exports are shrinking under US-driven sanctions and infrastructure constraints. Now let's look at soft power. The US has 16 of the top 20 universities in the world. Russia has none in the top 100. We dominate global media, music, and entertainment. Hollywood, Netflix, YouTube, Instagram. The only real exception to this is TikTok, and even that has US-based operations and may be acquired by a US group of companies. Russia has no global media presence whatsoever. I honestly couldn't name one celebrity from Russia. Perhaps Garry Kasparov, which he's persona non grata to the Kremlin anyways. And oh yeah, we also have better vodka, as we consistently win more World Vodka Awards than Russia does every year now. Now, as for currency, the US dollar is used in 88% of global foreign exchange transactions. The ruble is under 1%. The US is a part of the G7, the Five Eyes, the Quad, AUKUS, and countless other international bodies. Russia is isolated from all of them, largely because the US doesn't want them there and no one else wants to piss the US off by bringing them in. When it comes to population, the US has 334 million people to Russia's 144 million, which is more than twice as large. We are younger, more diverse, and smarter. This drives an industrial base that is over 10 times larger by value and far more advanced. Notice how we only have 2 times the population, but we are 10 times more valuable? There's a reason for that. Russia's economy is built on arms sales and digging crap out of the ground. So the US isn't just more powerful, it's in another league. Economically, militarily, technologically, diplomatically, America outmatches Russia on nearly every metric that defines power. Oh, and by the way, we have nuclear weapons too. We actually know ours work, and we've used them. Plus, we have a missile defense capability that you don't, so fuck out of here with that argument. It is abundantly clear that Russia has no interest in real negotiations and wants to drag out the war in Ukraine to gain leverage. The Kremlin is banking on exhaustion, both in Ukraine and among Western backers. So I say it's time for Russia to really feel just how powerful the US is on the global stage. That would inspire European powers to step up as well. And we can do it without sending a single troop or flying a single aircraft over Ukraine. We just need to take the gloves off with our devastating economic punishment, powerful weapons for Ukraine, and nonstop diplomatic pressure across the globe, especially in places like China and India. And you know what Russia's going to do in the face of all of this? Not a damn thing.